My teacher is essentially trying to punish me for having a meltdown. Not only that, but she humiliated me in front of the whole class too. What action could I take to prevent this happening again? I knew it would happen at some point. There's always that one lesson, that one situation at school when everything gets out of hand. But I didn't think it would be like this, with that one teacher, that I would be humiliated like this. It was a normal day. The last lesson was an EPQ, a subject where you would think you could work on your project in peace, without pressure and without constant quizzes. I came in with a slight feeling of anxiety, but nothing special. I knew I was tired. It had been a tough week, lots of homework, sleepless nights, and I always have background anxiety. I never know when a meltdown might hit. Sometimes it's just because of loud noises. Sometimes it's because of the feeling of being driven into a corner. And I try to avoid it, but it doesn't always work. The EPQ teacher is new to me. I had never had a class with her before. I knew that she had been told about my peculiarity at school, but it seems that either she decided to ignore it or decided that it is necessary to temper the character. But tempering is one thing, and destroying from within is quite another. From the very beginning, she acted strangely around me. She constantly invaded my personal space, leaned too close, caught my eye, waited for me to talk. She didn't do that with other guys, and that day it all started with that. She came up to me, literally hung over me and stared straight into my eyes. The seconds seemed like an eternity. I didn't know what to say, didn't know what she was waiting for. Panic began to grow inside me. My heart sped up. I squeezed out some uncertain, yeah, I'm working. And she just chuckled slightly and walked on. But I was already feeling bad. When such a trigger is launched, it is difficult to stop it. I felt how everything inside was shaking, and I understood that if I did not leave, there would be a meltdown right in the middle of the class. I gathered my strength and said that I wanted to go to silent study, but it was almost impossible to explain this clearly. The words were confused, the voice was shaking. She didn't just not help. She decided to turn everything into a performance. She raised her eyebrows, made a theatrical movement with her hands as if to say, "Come on, explain," and said loudly for the whole class to hear, "Well, we're all listening, what happened?" I froze. The guys stared at me. I tried to explain that I needed to leave, that I didn't feel well, but my words came out choppy. I stuttered, my voice broke, and she stood opposite, grinning and seeming to enjoy the moment. "You look pale," she said loudly so that the neighboring tables laughed. "Maybe it's a drama?" The class giggled quietly. I felt a lump in my throat. At that moment, my body betrayed me. My hands started shaking, tears welled up in my eyes. I realized that everyone was watching, and that made it even worse. I stood up to leave, but she didn't let go. "Stop. First, tell me where you're going. We can't just run around the school like that." The seconds seemed like an eternity. I barely squeezed out. In silent study, she made a dramatic gesture with her shoulders as if ridiculing my condition. "Okay, if it's absolutely necessary." I walked out shaking all over. I broke down outside the door. I didn't even have time to reach the study room before tears were already flowing.